Dr. Russell, do you recognize that depiction?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a diagram of canine dental anatomy.
And could you please, just for the jury, briefly describe dog dentition and what we mean by the term dentition? I think most know, but just for the record.
So I believe dentition just means the teeth and the shape of the teeth and of the mouth of the animal or a person. And what this diagram shows is that in general, dogs tend to have a triangular mouth, meaning it comes to a narrowing towards the front of the mouth. It shows how many teeth a normal dog will have, and what they look like. There are different kinds of teeth, just like humans have different kinds of teeth.
And Your Honor, to assist the jury in the understanding of what Dr. Russell was speaking about, with Your Honor's permission, could we publish this as a chalk for the jury?
Is there any objection?
None, thank you.
Okay. Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. And will enlarge Mr. Woke the Dr. Russell, where would you like to start with regard to this, just to give the jury a brief discussion of dog dentition? Which part of this should we zoom in on?
I think the lower half around the triangular upper and lower jaws, right there.
Right there? Very
Yeah.
good. And Mr. Woke, if you could just, to start with, pull it down just so we can see the headings, and more importantly, the jury can see the headings of those two diagrams that Dr. Russell has pointed out. Yes, and just enlarge that. Can you read what's on the left and what's on the right? It's slightly blurry.
It's slightly blurry.
Mandible, lower jaw, maxilla, upper jaw?
Yes, I can read it.
Right. Alrighty. So if we could then just reduce it back down so it's a little bit so that it's not distorted. And then Dr. Russell, if you could just talk about it. And before we do that, I think it would be helpful, Dr. Russell, we can go to the depiction up above just to get the overall picture up above there of the dog. All right. Is that that's an overall picture, correct? Do you want to point out anything generally on that picture?
I don't have a pointer, but generally it's a side view, and it shows and it's a skeletal view, so there's no skin, and it shows that there are some prominent teeth. They're called the canine teeth, and then there are some smaller teeth in front of that.
Excuse me if I couldn't interrupt. Pardon my interruption.
Yes.
I'm just going to try to locate in the courtroom a pointer, Your Honor. If
There's nothing on that, Mr. Andolfo?
I've got one where I may approach. If there's one on which.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see it. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. Here, Dr. Russell. Hopefully
Okay.
that will work for you. Thank you. Excuse me.
Okay, so this is a side view, and it shows many teeth, and and this is a skeletal view, obviously, and it shows these prominent teeth, which are called the canine teeth. Humans also have canine teeth, and ours are not quite as prominent. And then there are some teeth in front of that, which are called incisors. So that's the overview.
Right. And just to put this in context, we are looking at this and talking about dogs. Have you had the opportunity to review any photos of the right arm of the decedent in this case?
Yes.
And is one of the topics you're going to address whether those wounds are from a dog?
Yes.
And so this background in terms of dog dentition part of what you're going to cover for the jury later on?
Yes, and I want to make one more comment, if I may.
Please.
Just when a dog bites, they usually don't bite with all of the teeth. They usually don't get all the teeth impacted on the individual. So that's important to know. Oftentimes it's the anterior or the front teeth.
Why, doctor, is it the case that a dog doesn't always have a complete bite, get all of the teeth? Why is that the case?
Well, there's oftentimes movement. Oftentimes the dogs aren't really trained on biting techniques. And so, there's oftentimes the person who's being bitten is pulling away and trying to avoid the bite. So oftentimes there's only impact with a few of the teeth in the front.
Great. Please continue, Doctor, with your...
Dr. Russell, could I ask you to use this screen?
Oh, yes.
The other one, please. I think it's easier for counsel.
Oh, okay. So overview, these large canine teeth, these are the anterior teeth, and as I said, it's very rare for all the teeth to be involved in the bite. It's usually just the front teeth and canine teeth.
Are there certain teeth that are on this depiction that cause certain types of injuries, abrasions, tears, punctures? Is there any relation to the teeth in any of those categories, or can it be just general?
Well, oftentimes, because the canine teeth are so long compared to the others, they are the ones that seem to cause the the puncture wounds, and those are the ones that appear to get the grip on the person's skin.
Is there a medical term for a puncture wound from a canine? Or is it just it's a punctate wound from canines?
I'm not sure there's a medical term.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. Well, that's about it on this side view.
And is there any other view on the exhibit that you would like to discuss with the jury?
Well, I was going to show that it's triangular. Again, the upper and lower jaws. Yeah, they tend to be somewhat triangular.
Is that also sometimes the shape referred to as an hourglass, or is it triangular, or you prefer triangular?
I've heard it referred to as hourglass. I don't see an hourglass, but maybe in some dog breeds, because all the different dog breeds have different shapes of their mouths. But this is just a generalization.
Okay, please continue.
I don't know that there's anything else.
All right. And so you
Oh,
think...
actually, yes. So here you can see, go back, please. So here you can see, again, the canines, and it's oftentimes this is the upper jaw, the maxilla jaw. It's oftentimes these teeth that do the impacting.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say it's often these teeth that what?
That do the impact. The upper jaw is oftentimes the part that actually makes contact with the skin. That's all.
Thank you. We can take that down, Mr. Woke. Thank you, Your Honor. Now let's go to dog-inflicted injuries on humans generally. What type of injuries to humans can be caused by dog-inflicted bites?
Well, there are lots of different types of injuries. So they could be extremely minor, from a minor scratch to puncture wounds by individual teeth, to actual puncture and punctures by several teeth. There could be several abrasions because there are multiple teeth involved, and if they don't puncture, they at least scratch. They can scratch the skin. That's what I call abrasion, is a scratch. So they scratch the skin, but in parallel, because the teeth are lined up. So they oftentimes have parallel lines. And then, of course, there are bruises that could occur because of the crushing injury, and there can be what we call avulsions, which are where an actual flap of the skin is removed. And I can go further, but there's a wide extent of injuries.
So there's a wide extent, a wide range, and can you just give one or two factors that are going to determine whether you're on the more minor side of the range to the more major part as regard to the type of bite that the dog is able to get?
Well, I think that when there is penetration of the skin and pulling away of some of the tissue, I would consider that a more significant bite because of what's needed for treatment.
Just bear a moment, please. So, in terms of the nails and claws of a dog, what type of injury, if any, can those cause?
So the nails they're also somewhat pointy or triangular in configuration or shape, and so they can cause scratches, and actually they can cause even deeper wounds if the nail catches the victim's skin a certain way. But most of the time, just scratches.
From your experience, what type of medical experience, peer-reviewed article experience, your whole professional experience with dog-inflicted wounds on humans, do you have experience with just a part of the range or the whole range of injuries that a dog can inflict?
Well, I think I have a very wide range of experiences because those very serious ones we talked about in the very beginning, where there were crushing and ripping injuries, or those were the trained canine dog bites. Most emergency physicians don't even get to see those. They're so uncommon. But because I was assigned to jail ward, that's how I got to see them. But in the majority, in the main ER, most ERs and our main ER, we saw the more minor type of injuries.
So, in terms of if someone is bitten by a dog, where are they? Again, I think most people understand this, but just to be clear for the record, when someone gets a dog-inflicted wound, where do they usually go?
Well,
Sustained. Ask it differently.
Doctor, are you aware of the medical facility, from your experience, where people go who have dog-inflicted wounds?
well, if they feel like they need medical care, they will either go to a family doctor or most likely the emergency department, because the emergency department is where the resources are, the people that with the experience. They go to the emergency department in general.
From your experience for people in your literature review and authoring of documents, do people with dog-inflicted wounds go to a veterinarian for treatment?
Yes.
I'll let you answer it.
Not from my experience.
All righty. Now let's move to another category, and to keep this moving along. How did you initially become involved in this case?
Well, very interesting. I live in Los Angeles, and I saw something in the Boston Globe about this case, but I really didn't pay much attention to it. And then eventually I saw or heard something, because I'm not from this part of the Massachusetts. I'm from a different part of Massachusetts. So anyways, eventually I heard or saw something about there being an issue with some possible dog-inflicted injuries versus maybe car-inflicted injuries. So that got my attention. I thought, that's interesting. And so that's how I initially became aware of the case.
Let's talk about the Boston Globe. How is a person from Los Angeles reading the Boston Globe, and why? Is it like a one-time thing, or why is it you're reading the Boston Globe?
I had a subscription. I would, not always read it. I lived in Massachusetts. I went to school in Massachusetts. I worked in Massachusetts as a police officer. So I have some interest in Massachusetts, but none of that was in this geographic area. It was all north of Boston. So that was the area I mostly paid attention to.
Did you reach out to anyone after reading that article? And what do you recall from the article in the Boston Globe, if anything?
I'm going to sustain that objection.
Did you reach out to anyone after having read something in the Boston Globe?
Yes, again, I thought the question was interesting.
Objection.
I'll let that stand, but just answer Mr. Alessi's
Yes,
question, please.
yes, I did.
Go ahead. Answer.
Okay. Yes, I reached out to one of the DAs in Los Angeles County.
And at that point, what, if anything, did you know about this case?
I didn't know much. I just knew what I mentioned, and I knew that the decedent was a police officer, had been a police officer, and that interested me also because I was a police officer.
Please keep your voice up, Dr. Russell.
I said that interested me also because I had been a police officer at the time.
Go ahead.
So that's about all I knew, really.
Right. So, did you know anything about what the prosecution was claiming or the defense was claiming at all? Did you know anything?
Objection.
Sustain.
What did you know, if anything, about the case?
Objection.
I'm going to see its sidebar really quickly on this.
A moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Doctor, in terms of Mr. Wolk, if we could please, and Your Honor, may we publish what is already in evidence, which is Exhibit 167?
Okay.
Dr. Russell, do you recognize Exhibit 167?
Yes.
And how do you recognize that? Well, first let's start, what is it, and then how do you recognize it?
It is a picture of the decedent's right arm and forearm.
Now, without stating what it is, have you been able to form an opinion as to the source and nature of the wounds that are depicted in that exhibit?
Yes.
Now, in terms of the next area, can you describe for the jury what method you used in forming your opinion without yet stating what your opinion is?
Well, I used pattern recognition and differential diagnosis.
So let's start with wound pattern recognition. Is that the wound pattern recognition you've been discussing up to this point in your testimony?
Yes.
And did I hear you use the phrase differential diagnosis?
Yes.
Please tell the jury what you mean by the term differential diagnosis as a physician, emergency medicine physician and forensic pathologist.
So when a physician sees a patient, and or an image in this case, and is attempting to make a diagnosis, it's very important that not only do they consider what they believe is the obvious, but also in their mind go through other possible diagnoses and determine if they can rule them out, so to speak. If they can rule them in, rule them out, so that they are not just focused on one thing, but they've actually given consideration to other conditions that may be causing whatever it is that they see.
So, Mr. Wolk, if you could take that, we're going to come back to this back and forth, but I'd like to have it taken down until we do have the need to, and if we could have the lights go back on, Your Honor. Thank you. So, does applying a differential diagnosis, well, let me start out. Do you understand what confirmation bias is?
I believe so.
Yes. And does differential diagnosis assist or not assist in avoiding confirmation bias?
I believe it assists in avoiding confirmation bias.
So, in terms of differential diagnosis, did you apply that concept in the beginning of your analysis of this case?
Yes.
How did you apply differential diagnosis to, among other things, avoid confirmation bias in this case?
Well, in my mind, I went through other possible things or causes of wounds on an arm, and what they would look like, and the configuration, the patterns, etc. And then I figured out why these other potential causes of wounds in the arm did not fit this case.
So is a phraseology a synonym for differential diagnosis, what doctors call ruling out something? Is that another way to say it as well?
Yes.
So we're going to come back to the differential diagnosis. I just wanted to have that question first. Now let's switch to the materials that you considered in forming your opinion about the nature and source of the wounds to Mr. O'Keefe. Describe what you looked at in terms of coming to your opinion, conducting a differential diagnosis, and avoiding confirmation bias. What did you look at?
Well, I looked at pictures similar to this. So there were pictures taken at the hospital. There were pictures taken at the medical examiner's office. I looked at the medical records. I looked at the autopsy report. And I looked at other reports from the Massachusetts State Police. And then, those are some of the things I looked at.
Did you look at any photographs, including of clothing?
Of what?
Clothing?
Oh, yeah, clothing. Clothing, of course.
What clothing did you look at?
So there was a shirt, like a hoodie shirt, that I looked at that had many defects in it.
And when you say defects, what do you mean by defects? Is there a more layperson's term?
Holes?
Thank you. Did you look at any history of any dogs with regard to any municipalities and dog incidents?
I'm going to sustain that, Mr. Leslie.
Did you look at any municipal records with regard to your review in this case?
So that's sustained.
With regard to other documents, if any, could you describe any other documents that you looked at?
Well, I also...
Dr. Russell? We had broke off where you had described the materials that you had reviewed. Based on your And Mr. Wolk, if we could please put the exhibit that we just had, and with Your Honor's permission, republish it. Thank you. Based on your review of all the materials that you had described and your experience that you had described, without stating it, were you able to come to any conclusions or opinions about the source and nature of the injuries that you see depicted on that exhibit?
Yes.
And what is your opinion and conclusion concerning those injuries?
Those wounds were inflicted as the result of a dog attack.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you speak a little louder?
They were inflicted as the result of a dog attack.
And how did you form that opinion? Just describe your thought process to the jury.
Well, there are multiple groupings of wounds.
Do you have the pointer?
I
there?
do. Let's see.
And if you could use the screen that Her Honor has requested.
So there are multiple groupings of wounds right here. Here's one on the what I'll consider the upper arm, which is above the elbow. Here's another grouping. Here's an interesting, complex grouping at the elbow. These are all the posterior surface of the arm. And there's another grouping down here on the forearm. These multiple groupings are patterns. And they are, in my opinion, were inflicted by the teeth and claws of a dog.
We've discussed previously pattern recognition skills and methodology, and you just mentioned the word pattern here. Can you elaborate on what you mean by pattern with regard to this exhibit?
So there are groupings, and one can see that these wounds are going essentially in the same direction. They are oriented in the same way on the almost from the inner, close to the inner surface of the arm or the anterior surface towards the posterior surface.
What is
of
the
the arm.
significance, if any, of that orientation you just described?
So what that gives me direction, and that tells me that the dog's teeth were over over here. The dog is over on this side of the arm, and the teeth started their punctures or their injuries over here, and through either the action of the dog or a combination of the action of the dog and the action of the decedent pulling away, or the victim pulling away, the teeth made these abrasions in this direction, from here down to here. And then here it's very complex because of the bending of the elbow. We don't know the exact configuration of what this elbow was in the arm. Was it fully extended, meaning it's fully stretched out, or was it partially bent? Was it fully bent? We don't know. But in addition to the pulling away movement, there's also the bending movement. So that one is even a little bit more complex. And of course, there are some additional marks down here and some possible bruising down here, punctate marks down here, which may represent the lower teeth.
If we could just stop at that area, have you observed in your experience what you call that complex area pattern? Have you seen that before?
Not that exact pattern, no.
But have you seen any that is similar to it?
I've seen some characteristics of these patterns before,
Right.
yes.
And it is the appropriate methodology to zero in on one section, or is the appropriate pattern methodology to look at all the wounds and then reach a conclusion?
The second, to look at all the wounds.
And
Okay,
could you
so-
please
Why don't we take our recess?
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay?
Thank you.
Court, all rise, please.